Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mr. Moran, Jose Moran, here again. And today we have an opportunity to have a chat or a conversation with Livingston Police Department Chief Chris Soria. And I know there has been some questions and some concerns lately, but more than anything, I think we want to take this opportunity to have Chief Soria share a little bit and for the community to get to know a little more of everything that goes behind the scenes. Because sometimes people in the community, they only see or they only know or they only hear certain things, but they don't know everything that goes behind the scenes, kind of. So, Chief, welcome and thank you for making time to be here today.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moran. I appreciate you having me today, and good afternoon, everybody who's attending tonight, or actually this afternoon, this event.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out in the community that might have an idea, but they don't know everything that the chief of police does. You know, it's not just sitting behind the desk, right, making decisions and signing papers. What's everything that a chief has to do?
Right now, it's actually even a little bit with everything that's going on right now, even a little bit more hectic. Although it's still not that bad. I've been without a captain. Well, I was the captain when Chief Chavez left, but then when he left, I pretty much had to take up the responsibilities of the chief and the captain. So that kind of made it somewhat hectic. Although although we're kind of down in personnel at the police department, not only people that have left to other agencies, we have a few people that are out on work-related injuries. We're still doing a good job, and they're keeping it up, doing what they have to do out there. And my administrative staff, they do a great job making sure that the day-to-day operations continue to go forward. We try to provide the best we can for the citizens of Livingston. And one of the great things that I'm glad that I'm here today is that I like getting things out, being as transparent as possible. I hope people have a lot of questions today, because the only way you're going to find out is by asking. And this is the things that I tell my supervisors. You always have to ask, because we don't know everything. We're human beings. And even myself, if I don't know something, I'm going to go out of my way to ask somebody who does. I don't second guess. I don't try to guess. I don't want to tell somebody, yeah, I think I might know. I'm going to find out the answer and make sure that I do the right thing. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, there it was.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So before we continue, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, how long have you been in the department? How long you been in the city? Who is Chris Soria?
Well, obviously, I lived in Merced all my life. I lived in the Bay Area for a couple of years. My parents obviously didn't like it down there. I don't know if anybody's been down in the Bay Area. We lived in Concord. My mom didn't like it one bit, so we moved back to the Valley. I grew up in Merced. I've lived there all my life. I lived in Outwater for a few years. But, I went to Merced JC after graduating Merced High. And I more or less kind of didn't know what I kind of wanted to do. So I started taking general ed out at the college. When I started doing that, I know my brother, who was trying to look at the highway patrol, kind of got me steering in that direction. So I started looking into like the administration of justice. When I did that, I guess it was kind of like a calling. That's when I started taking administration of justice classes. I took reserve classes, and I started applying at that time, Merced Police Department didn't have reserves, and only the Sheriff's Department, Outwater, and Livingston had them. So I applied at all three and basically went to the first person who took me, which was Livingston. They picked me up really quick. I was 20 years old, and pretty much I've been here since. I'm 57 now. And, I just worked myself up the ranks. Livingston has been very good to me when it's come to training me at every aspect that I've done. I've done a lot. I've moved up from a reserve police officer to volunteering my time to part-time getting paid to actually getting hired full-time. Then from there, I got promoted to sergeant in 95, or actually it was 98, and then lieutenant in 2006. And then I went till about 2015, I believe it was. I made captain. And then when the departure of Chief Chavez last year, I was asked to do that. And that's when it was something that I felt it was a need. I know the city was somewhat hurting budgetary wise. So I told them that I could do both positions, saving the city some money. I knew it was something that I did it before back in 2010. So basically, that's where I am today in a nutshell. And here I am today. The chief of police position, it was something that I knew of. I've worked under 6 chiefs before me. And I always studied what the things that they did and how they did it. I've learned from each and every one of them, the goods and bads. And I try to stay with the goods, obviously, but you learn quite a bit in the time that I've been here. So I've come to know the police department inside out fairly well, and the individuals that work here as well. But the other thing that I did is I got to know the people over the years. And I know quite a few in the time that I've been here. That's probably going to be the biggest thing is when I leave, which I will be retiring in June, is probably be missing that. Obviously, I'll miss the people that I work with as well. But the citizens, even though you have goods and bads in this profession, you're always going to, because we see a lot. But even with that, I do it all over again. I enjoyed every bit of it, every bit of the 37 years. I had such a good time doing it, although I'm not done yet. But yeah, it was a great time. It still is, and I just want to keep this department moving forward. When the next person comes in, I want him to be able to step in and it'd be a nice, smooth transition that he can go into and continue to provide that good professional service to the citizens of Livingston.
Yeah. Wow. 37 years. I kind of remember that you being there for over 30 years, but I wasn't sure how many those were. But that 37 years, that's quite a long time, quite an accomplishment, really.
Yeah, the town has changed so much since I've been here. In every shape and fashion. It went from, I think it was about 5,800 people when I first started. We had a lot of bars downtown. We had the Court Theater going, the Idaho Hotel where the actual City Hall is. We had a gas station where Rite Aid is and a big park back there. But it changed. And with time, I know a lot of things do. But it didn't change for the worse. It's a good place to live. It's a good place to work. We all everywhere. I don't know of any place in the corner of this earth that is free from some of the things that we are seeing today and some of the things that you brought to my attention that some of the people want me to talk about. We do everything that we can to try to curb that behavior from some of the people that live here or people that come into this town. But it's still a really great place to live. I live in Merced. We have those problems. I tell you, and I'm not taking anything away from Merced Police Department because that's a big area to cover. And I know they're probably understaffed, but Livingston for the most part, and again, it helps that we're small still, considering what the other towns around us. It's some of the complaints I have where I live it's nothing compared to here, believe me. But I don't want to say anything bad about any other place because I wouldn't want to talk bad about them and it's not no fault of theirs either. So
yeah. Great. Well, well, definitely. I mean, before I forget, I do want to say thank you for those 37 years of service to this to the community of Livingston. That is quite an accomplishment. Um, and so you were the captain at the
Yes.
moment. At the moment, we have no captain, and then you mentioned that you're planning to retire in June. So then that means that uh, we probably are not going to have a captain and a chief at the same time.
Well,
Uh,
that's going to be kind of difficult. Now the city does know, and they are aware that I am going to be leaving in June of 2021. So it would be nice because it makes it very much easier on the chief to do the things that chiefs do. I do know. I mean, they're able to, do a lot of networking, not only with the citizens and see their concerns, but deal with also kind of not a whole lot of day-to-day operations. That's left up to the captain. So that kind of leaves the chief open to more or less see what council, citizens, anybody or anything that they can reach out to, what their needs may be on a more regular basis. I know today I had somebody come in today. However, I was busy with something else and I couldn't do it. This is something that basically had I had a captain, I could have had him, take care of it right away. Because even though I have sergeants and I am throwing a lot more duties on them, sorry about that. It's my house thing, but uh, I don't want to put too much on them. The reason being is because they still have to be on the streets, and that's their kind of number one focus. I don't, because the more I put on them, the less they're out on the streets, and that's where I want them the most. I want them out there, the eyes and ears, seeing what's going on, making sure the officers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, enforcing what they have to enforce, and still yet doing the things that I have asked to. Like one of the things that I implemented when I used to do it when I was a young police officer is go door to door and basically talk to the citizens, and that's what the officers are doing now. Um, I feel that interaction is very important because you find out. I mean, not everybody's going to talk and tell us what's going on. However, the more we talk to, the more information we may get. And they know about us, and they know what we do if they have questions. So that's probably the number one thing. What I want to do is I want to get these younger officers who sometimes it's kind of hard for them to do that. It's very easy for them to stop a car, go take a call, make an arrest. But one of the things, like I said some time ago, is that probably 90% of the contacts we have with citizens is in a negative light. What I need to do is I need to kind of reverse that somewhat and make it positive. So I'm having these guys go out, having my officers go out, knock on the doors, introduce themselves, ask them what their needs are. Not everybody's going to be open to it, but the more we do, the more information we got. And I did that when I was a young officer, and it paid off. I started knowing who the people were. They start giving me information about things that were going on in their neighborhood, and then I can act upon it and better serve them in that way. So that's what I'm trying to convey to them to get them to do.
Yeah, so definitely, I've seen that with officers going around some areas and talking to people in their homes. And actually, with that, I also seen some concerns. Well, I guess not really concerns, but they're like, what's going on? Like, how come officers are going to people's homes and they're
Yes.
like, well, it's like, oh, they're just trying to engage and communicate with the community and stuff like that. And then especially now with the new time change, when it gets dark by 5:30 or so, and,
Yes.
and and officers are coming to their doors, and and sometimes they're like, why are they here? Kind of
Yeah.
not really thinking, oh, they're here to get him, just to come and say hi. So
Yeah.
uh, I guess just. But yes, I've been able to see officers going to different areas of town,
Mhm.
and I think that is a really good approach. But I also seen some of those comments where, or not, they're not concerns, but they're just kind of wondering, like, you know, are they doing this on a regular basis? Because they were not doing that before, and then people find out that that is something that came from you.
Yeah, we used to do it back in the day under Chief Eldridge. This is one thing that I learned from him. Engaging the public. That was probably his number one priority. In many ways, he did it. He didn't do this. I took it upon myself when I was on the actual, it was called the street crime team, when we dealt with drugs and gangs. That was the things that I did. I took it upon myself. So I engaged the public back then. And it paid off. It really did, because I've always said, there are some of the officers that do live here in town. However, most of them put on their uniform, go out for 8 hours or 10 hours, then they leave the city and go. The people stay here. They know what's going on. So how better to find out what is going on in the community by asking them. You have to go out there and you have to seek out that information. Okay. And again, not everybody's going to be receptive to it, and especially when we haven't been doing it. However, I have to get this going back up. I have to, and I know there's going to be some type of, hey, what's going on? And I did tell Sergeant Fong, who's actually scheduling the officers. I told them, hey, let's, because I did see those comments about coming out at night. I said, hey, let's kind of just make ssure that it's light when we go over and we start talking to people, because, same thing with me when I'm at home. When somebody starts knocking on my door at night, I'm like, hey, why are they out here? Okay. Because, and nowadays you never know, and it's, it's not like it used to be back in, the 80s, 70s, and maybe in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's getting bad. It's getting somewhat worse. The crime is going up, and I know there's a lot of different reasons as to why, and a lot of different dynamics going on regarding that. But yeah, I want to, and this is going to continue to go until I'm gone. And I hope the officers continue to do that, because, like I said, they have to engage the public in many ways, and this is just one of them.
Yeah. So we are getting some questions, and which is something good. That means people are engaged and people are interested in finding out more. And actually, some of those questions are currently in the that are being asked. They kind of connect with some of the questions that have been shared with me before, and one of them, maybe we can answer those questions at the same time.
Sure.
Racing on the streets. Somebody mentioned in the comments, Briarwood. It almost seems like Main Street nowadays. There's some racing on Peach Avenue between Hammett and Dwight. There was a concern of speeding on Hammett between the freeway ramp and Peach Street. My understanding that there has also been some accidents there in that section of Hammett, or maybe some fender benders. I'm not sure. Those are just comments from some of the neighbors from that area.
Not that I know of. Actually, our accidents, I believe, has somewhat gone down. However, that does not mean that none of those are taking place now. I have noticed, and this has been going on a lot of places, with the street racing, the burning of the donuts in the middle of the streets and the intersections. We are, excuse me, we are aware of that. We are doing things to. I actually got one of my sergeants and one of my corporals going to. It's called street racing training with the highway patrol that they put it on. And this kind of gives us more ideas on how to deal with these situations, so they can put together a plan on how to address that. We are doing more training when it comes to it. We have not had radar training, which I don't know if most people know that radar is when we point it at a vehicle, it gives us the speed. We have not done that in quite some time. And we are actually in the process of revamping that as well. We have to actually get it certified through POST, which is Peace Officer Standards and Training. And once that's certified, which is very close now, we will train the officers up and they will be back out there utilizing the radars. If I don't know if you've also seen that we are starting to put the radar trailer back out. It was down for a while. It was broken. So we are starting to do that as well. And pretty soon what we're going to end up doing is, I don't know if people saw, but I know I had seen it on Facebook that they saw other agencies here in Livingston when we were having the shootings, like on a continual basis, trying to curb that. But what we're going to do in the future, near future, is we're going to now start going after people who reckless drive, speed, excuse me, and we're going to start saturating those areas with unmarked cars to catch these individuals. Will probably most likely depend on each situation. We're going to do a campaign where we'll let people know that it's going to be more informative, unless it's obviously a very flagrant violation. We're going to let people know that, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what you guys need to do, but you have to slow down. And we're going to try to do that for at least a few weeks. And after that, I hate saying it, but that then comes the tickets. And you do the educational. Once we got the educational done, we start doing the enforcement. And that has to be done to actually somewhat bring this down, because the word gets around. Again, that's probably one of the good things about being in a small department. The word gets around, and it's kind of like back in the day when we used to work narcotics, is if we did a search warrant at a house, people would say, hey, watch out, the cops are out there. They end up getting John Doe's house over here. And then you would talk to people who were informants of ours that basically would tell us, hey, you can't buy nothing over here because they think you're gonna end up going to their house and searching their house. So if we can do that and curb that in any way we can, we're gonna do that. I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, good. I'm going to go through some of the comments that are being sent to us. So there's actually a couple, one comment which I'm going to show. It's the job, isn't it the job experience from various? Okay, actually, I think there was a reposting. Is staying at one place a good training tool?
I know that has come up about officers sitting in one spot. What we try to do, and I know what the officers do, and I'm not saying that this is happening all the time, but our officers now do their reports in the cars. They have the capability now of doing and we want to keep them out, because if they have a lot of reports, and back in the day when we didn't have that ability to do that, they would come into the office. So that's one officer off the street. So basically what we try to have them do is, hey, do a report here somewhere where they might be, and they do it a lot because we have a lot of issues right there at Peach and Main by the high school. So they'll park there and they'll do the reports. They'll watch the intersection. People will see, so people will stop, because you get a lot of people sometimes come flying out from the county, and they'll come up to that intersection sometimes. And I've heard that oftentimes they'll blow the stop sign coming out from a 55-mile-an-hour zone coming on in. So that's probably why you see officers sitting at one spot. However, I think your mute went off again. But however, I've always told people, because people have called me on this, please let me know, because I can check to see if officers are just sitting in one spot. And just, who knows, it might just be shooting the breeze. Who knows? I don't know. But this is for people to let me know so I can make my officers better. I get those calls from time to time, but 9 times out of 10, they're most likely doing their reports in one spot, and normally a high visibility spot, so people will not be running stop signs, things of that nature.
Good, thank you for that. There's a next question. Are we doing anything about the fireworks?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the biggest topics right now. I know that because I got my phone blew up this weekend, and I totally understand because let me tell you, the fireworks situation has somewhat got out of hand. I think it's got out of hand all in the county, but the only thing I'm worried about is here in town. I think most people know, and if they don't, I'll explain it to them now. The only thing that can be fired off here in this city are safe and sane fireworks. And the only time that you can actually do fireworks is from June 28th to July 4th. That's the only time. And that's the only time they can sell them. Any other time, if they get caught with the safe and sane, they can actually be cited for the actual municipal code ordinance.
Mm.
Anything thereafter that shoots up in the air, because all safe and sane fireworks don't shoot up in the air. They shoot some sparkler stuff that kind of go maybe 5-6 feet up in the air, but nothing that actually shoots in the air like a cannon. All those are illegal. Those are really illegal. All those come in from places like Texas, Mexico, Nevada, and this is the reason why they don't sell them here in California. It's because they're illegal. Most people know this. This is why we do not. This is a thing that's been going on for years. And I know some people, well, aren't you going to give us warnings? No, because those things, everybody knows where those things came from. Everybody knows you can't get them in California, and everybody knows that it's illegal. So right now, what we're going to be doing, because I know there's something, well, New Year's, what we're going to end up doing is we'll end up putting people in unmarked vehicles, and I don't. It's not that I want to go out and cite anybody, because that's the last thing that I want to do. However, if that's what it's going to take to curb this behavior, then this is what we're going to do. We're going to have people out there. The year before last, 4th of July, we ended up citing about 8 people. This last time, we didn't cite anybody. This last weekend, when it was really, really bad, we only had 2 officers working. They were extremely busy, and they were actually on a couple other calls that, unfortunately, and I don't like saying this, but some of those calls had a pinned because of the fact that they were on more serious calls than a fireworks call. And I know everything's serious to everyone. However, we get something where there's a brandishing of a weapon or a firework call, it's kind of a no-brainer. We're going to go to the weapon call. So that's kind of something there. But yeah, we are going to address it in one way, shape, or form or another. I don't want to throw all my goodies out there. All I can just say is that if you're gonna be shooting off illegal fireworks, the chances of you getting caught are going to be pretty good. And I'm going to tell you right now, we do not use the municipal code ordinance. They're cited in the court. The last few people that I have heard that actually got cited, they end up getting a pretty stiff fine up to about $750 up to $1,000. And I think some of those people end up getting probation. And in other words, if they got caught again, then most likely it would be even worse the second go around. So we are going to address that. And most likely what we're going to be addressing, I know they're sporadic here and there, but on the days that we know for a fact that these things are going to be going on, New Year's, 4th of July, we're going to beef up patrols and make sure that we curb that like we did 2 years ago.
Okay. So also, there was another question that was sent earlier in the day specifically about fireworks. If there's a neighbor, the question was if a neighbor has video from I guess from the private cameras at home, from their home surveillance, can they provide that as evidence?
You bet. The only thing is 2 things. We have to be able to identify the person, and we have to identify the evidence. Those are the 2 most crucial things, is because if we can't identify one or the other, most likely it's going to get thrown out of court or won't even make it to court. Obviously, we have to identify the person. That's pretty much, a no-brainer on that one. But the other thing is, if we just see like them lighting something and we don't get the full picture, we don't actually know what they're lighting. And we can actually still cite them for the safe and sane one, depending on whether if it is that. But chances are the district attorney probably and might not file on it because of the fact that we don't have the physical evidence, because we'll end up going later. But that does not mean that we won't try, and we could send down a complaint on that person and talking to them. Hey, is this you? This looks like you. Is it, what were you doing? And we can do a report, and it can go down to the district attorney to see whether or not they'll be filed on it. I'll tell you right now, most likely they probably will not go to jail. Because again, this is probably one of the biggest things that we're beating our heads, is because now with the no bail because of COVID, there's only, I mean, you literally, I mean, like homicide, robbery, things of that nature, very violent crimes are the only things that they're taking into the jail. Everything else, they're not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here's a comment, and I just wanted to share that the LPD has always been the first run on the training tool. I think they're referring to as LPD being kind of like a stepping stone for some officers.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's true. I've been here, like I said, I've been here for 37 years, and I've seen so many officers come and go. You know, bottom line is one of the issues was pay, and we really can't argue that anymore, because the officers getting paid pretty good, decent money now, comparable to the other agencies. The thing of it is we are a small department. We don't have the big things that they do: canines, motors, SWAT, working drug units, detectives, things of that nature that are advancement up to corporal, field training officer, sergeant, captain. We don't have that. We don't have that movement. So that's why a lot of people, and over the years, God, there has been so much movement and turnover in this department. I mean, yes, we do train a lot of people. And then I know some people, well, why do we train them? Well, number one, we have to, because we want the best in our officers, and we don't know if they're going to leave or not. But secondly, we're mandated on some of it. We have to. And the thing of it is we want a good officer while they're here. Once we find out that they may be leaving, we stop their training somewhat until we find out whether or not they are or not. And the other thing is for the most part, we get reimbursed for that training through post, which is the state.
Okay, so you did mention, did LPD used to have K9 units before at one point or another?
We had a drug dog. Yes, we had a drug dog at one time. But you know, it's kind of like the SRO. We just took the SRO out of the high school and placed them back over to the middle school. Same thing with the K9. You can't just put anybody in these positions. They have to be right for that position. K9 takes a great responsibility. You have to work with that dog 24/7 for that dog to be good. If you're not working with that dog and you're not spending a lot of time with that dog is, I mean, I'm just going to be upfront and honest. If you're an officer doesn't do much, that dog's not going to do much. And that's the same thing with an SRO, is that you put somebody who doesn't do anything, well, then they're not going to, engage in the kids. They're just going to be walking around. So you got to get that right person for that position. And that's probably been one of the biggest things, and kind of somewhat on the past, where I've had some disagreements with some of my bosses, the chiefs, when I was captain lieutenant, about putting people in certain positions. I'd make my point noted. However, if that's what they want to do, they were the department head, and that's what they did. But now that I'm running it, I'm not just going to put anybody in anything. I want to make sure that they're right for it, and then they're going to do the best that we can give at that position.
Good. Thank you for that. Well, here's a question, but I think you already answered part of it. But I just wanted I just want to make sure that I share all of the questions that are being asked. What can we do about the reckless driving around town? People flying through Broiderwood, which is pretty much a main street. And I think you already mentioned that, what you're planning on.
One of the other things, though, is as I forgot to mention, is that, if the people can take a snapshot of the people, whatever they're doing, and just send it to us. I'm working on something to where we can actually get an email so we can get things through that way as well. But and they could probably do it through Facebook, but nonetheless, we may not be able to get to the person, but at least we're going to make the person or the vehicle owner understand that we know what they're doing, or somebody in that car is do what they're doing. And we're going to go to that residence if we can run the plate and say, hey, this car, whoever was driving it, we can't prove it. Okay, we're just going to let you know that this is what they're doing. And it could be a son or a daughter who had their parents' car acting crazy, but we're going to do that because we need to engage them that way. And again, we can't maybe not be able to prove anything, but at least we take that little step further to try to get maybe something out of nothing.
Okay, good. And now that you mentioned that, can you talk a little bit about the tip line?
Yeah, we've actually had this tip line for quite some time. I actually started it. Oh God. Well, actually, I didn't start it. I think it was one of the officers back in the day who started working narcotics, and then I took it over when I made sergeant, and then I took that tip line from there, and then it kind of grew with us, and then for a short period of time, it just kind of went defunct. It didn't go anywhere. So now that I'm back in charge, some of the stuff that we're gonna when we stop vehicles. And we're knocking on doors, we have informational flyers. On the traffic side, it'll be regarding traffic stuff. However, the tip line will be on there. On the knocking on doors, they're supposed to be handing out flyers that basically gives information regarding, security of your home, gangs, what to look for, and the tip line if you see something. But what it is it goes to Sergeant Ramirez. He reviews them all, and he's going to get, if somebody wants us to call them back, if they want to remain anonymous, we're not going to call them back. But we're going to follow up on anything that we get. Depends on what we get or what information we have will depend on what we could do with it. Okay. But in the past, we've actually, it's led to arrests in the past.
Okay. Good, thank you. Here's another question. Oh, actually, I think it's more of a comment, which says, this is from Anthony Gerards. I'm a big supporter of the Livingston Police Department, and I'm very grateful for all that you do. While I understand that Livingston has taken a stance on stop signs enforcement by placing officers at stop signs around the middle school, and I completely am on board with this. I struggle with watching officers backing into orchards of F and Robin and turning off their lights. I have seen this happen numerous times, and seeing them pull people over, I feel like this changes the perception. I wasn't able to read the rest of it.
Okay. Well, I don't know if he's actually talking about if he thinks it's a speed trap or they're just sitting back there doing nothing. But what it comes back to is most people have my number, and I have it on my business cards, my direct line. I happily invite, because I'm not going to say that our department is perfect. I'm not perfect. I learn every day. Even though I've been doing this job for 37 years, I learn every day. And even the officers as well. And I try to impress that on them. However, the people of this community are my eyes and ears, as well as my supervisors. If they feel that some officers out there are doing something they're not supposed to be doing, I would hope, and I'm telling people out there, let me know what's going on. I'll look into it. Now, if they are doing something wrong, obviously I can't share what comes of that. If there's any type of discipline, I won't share that, but I will definitely tell them it's going to be taken care of, or I'll tell them this is why they were there and this is what they were doing. I don't have a problem with sharing that information. It's obviously, if I do the latter, I can't share that. But no, I want people to give me a call, and I've gotten a lot more calls within the last few months than I ever have, and that's what I want, because they're the ones that are going to keep us on our toes, make sure we're doing the right thing, and if we are doing something wrong, then we'll correct it and making sure that it's not being done anymore.
All right, great, thank you. Here's another comment. Cars trying to beat the traffic light from Gamble to Davis all the way to Olive, and from 1000 Davis to Walnut, trying to beat the light.
Yeah, those are that I've gotten a lot of calls over there because of the fact that it's a big, and I think, well, let's see, Davis and Walnut trying to beat the light, and then Gamble and Davis. I'm trying to
And
figure out
then,
where.
yeah,
Yeah, we're just going to have to, like I said before, is when we start getting our officers out there. One of the things that we're going to do is Sergeant Kang, who's actually in charge of our traffic. He's now compiling a list of areas that are going to be needed the most that we're going to hit first, and that's how we're gonna do it. We're also we have the ability. Then what we're going to end up doing as well is he's already put together a whole traffic matrix, which basically gives a rundown of wrecks, why the wrecks were caused, and the areas that they were caused. So those are the other things that are going to go put into the formula. So when we start getting out there and doing heavy traffic, um, we will hit these areas first and then work our way out.
all right, great.
Yeah.
I think here's another question. Are you working with traffic public works? Why wasn't the problem with Winton Parkway and 99 addressed earlier?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what problem you're talking about.
I'm thinking and I'm assuming the expansion of the ramp, but I don't think that has nothing to do with public works or police department, but rather Caltrans.
Yeah, Caltrans did that. They do get with Public Works, um, but for the most part, the state's going to do the state's going to do, and
Mhm.
they may ask, hey, if there's any issues with what may go on. We knew it was going to be a traffic nightmare. When they did that, we knew it. However, it was something that um, it was needed, and now it's somewhat alleviated some of the issues that are going on out there. I'm hoping, and I probably not. I probably won't see it. And thank you, Miss Karen Cross, for that. But I'm hoping that one day that the what is it, Winton Parkway,
Mhm.
yeah, shoots all the way through, because that'll alleviate so many problems,
Mhm.
with traffic coming into town, and this will make traffic go around and divert.
Mhm.
But that's much needed, and I know that's something I know the city wants. However, again, it comes down to monetary issues, the expense, and that's probably one of the biggest things. Hopefully, we can get development in there, and they end up as they go pay for it. But if that road shoots all the way through, that will get rid of a lot of problems coming into town, a lot of traffic issues coming into town.
Yeah, so that is the Winton Parkway where it stops at B Street, coming through all the way to where the middle school is, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. All right. So here's another comment. I think it relates to the fireworks. They're very loud and it's horrible for pets. My dog has anxiety because he gets scared. Thank you for all the information and taking care of our Livingston community, Chief Soria.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Soria. I have pets too, and 4th of July, somebody was asking me, hey, uh, Livingston was just crazy. It was worse than any place. And I said,
Mm,
well, I was off 4th of July, and I didn't have to actually go anywhere. I literally sat in my backyard and was able to see a show. I mean,
mm,
literally, it was that bad in Merced. But it's very hard to catch these people. When we go, we get a call, we go, we show up, they're gone. They normally see us coming. So that's why what we're going to end up doing is, I don't want to have to take these extreme measures, but, you talk and talk and talk. You tell people that it's illegal. For years they've known it's illegal. We've cited people, yet they continue to do it. It's horrible for pets. I've seen my dogs; they go crazy. So I got to put them in the house, put them in a room to where it doesn't hurt their ears. But we've been dealing with this for a long time, and it's sad that now we're going to have to waste our resources and to catch these people doing it. And
mm.
I have other things that I could be doing, and I would hope everybody would stop. However, I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to continue to do it. So now I have to come up with a plan to actually deal with that.
Yeah, and here's another question, and I think it might be connected uh, to this same issue. What is the use of modern technology like drones, street cameras?
We actually had street cameras, but what it comes down to, and we actually looked at going into drones. The drone thing, it's phenomenal. It's probably one of the best tools that's out there. I mean, you literally, from what I saw, you can actually do it here at the police department, because we're actually looking at Modesto police departments when we did a demonstration. You can actually test something on a map and it'll go straight there. So your eyes and ears will be already on. Problem is the cost. It always comes down to that, that every dollar. I mean, we're a small town. We're already facing some budgetary issues. So that's what it comes down to. Street cameras, I'd love to have them all over the city. Problem is, again, we did have them at one time. Those cameras run about $7,000-8,000 a camera to put those up, and then the ones we did have were up around, I think they were like around 15,000 each. But at one point we did have 3 up, and then it was the end of life, and they end up, they didn't work anymore. But it is. I know the city is looking at that. We do want it again. I'd like to put them up in certain parts of the town, in areas that we know is somewhat busy. However, again, it comes down to money.
Budget
Yes,
money. Yes.
exactly.
Let's see. Here's another one. Have you seen the volume of mental health calls going up over the last 6 months? Also, how are our officers trained in these scenarios?
Actually, we go through mandated training. We just did it. I think it's been just under a year. It was just before the departure of Chief Chavez, where we did de-escalation, and it dealt with mental health issues. We continually go over with our officers our policy on how to deal with people with mental issues. We, in one way, shape, or form, we tried to train our officers. Also, Post, again, it's Peace Officer Standards and Training, has videos online that we have the officers go and they will view, and they're interactive, and more or less they kind of somewhat they go through what would you do type thing. So it trains them in that way. So we get them as trained as much up as possible when it comes to mental health. I know for a while there we were kind of seeing an escalation of calls for service on mental health issues. However, it's kind of somewhat went straight across the board, and we haven't seen a rise or go down. So it's staying pretty status quo.
All right. Okay. Here's another one from Jessica Jimenez. I'm late to the party, but does LPD plan to enforce the 3 household holiday gathering?
What we're going to do is, if we get called, I'm going to be upfront and honest with you, is we'll probably go there and tell the people that they need to go by state guidelines. We're obviously not going to go and arrest nobody. If it got to the point where we haven't cited one person regarding COVID. And I think there may have been, that I've heard, one person in this whole county that's been cited for that. The chances of them doing anything with it are probably very little. And I think most people know that. And it's come to the point now where I think that people have to know to do the right thing. We have these orders in place for a reason. They have to listen to it. If we're ever going to get out of this hole, we need to start doing, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, We have to do what the state says, or the county says, and go by their mandates. We will go out to the call zone, and we still do. We get complaints to the county because they all filter through the county. They come to us. They come to me actually, and I keep tabs on them. And then we'll send an officer out there, depending on what it is. We'll go out there and tell them, hey, they need to stop. Most people that I've gotten since the onset of COVID, when it started, there may have been one place that's been where I've had to go back twice. Most people are abiding by it. I know there has been some parties, here and there, but chances of us citing somebody, we're definitely not going to arrest anybody, but chances of us citing somebody are probably very little. We will go respond there and tell them, hey, they need to follow the state mandates and the social distancing, masks, etc.
Okay. All right. Next question is from Pamela Galvan Tamis. There are so many stray dogs that are mean and chase people or attack other animals. It is getting out of hand now. Is there anything being done about this?
Actually, she's been out more so and getting quite a few dogs. But again, it goes back to she's one person. The officers will not, unless the only time the officers will respond to a dog call is it's vicious or it's bitten somebody. Other than that, or if it's not vicious, then it's in a school, because I don't want a dog, whether we know if it's vicious or not, around kids. So they'll get the dog out of there one way or the other. However, she's one person, and we have to rely again back. And what I go back to is I have to rely on the people to, if you see something, call us. Anything that's vicious, if she's not on, our officers will respond. If they don't respond, then please let me know. But every time that I shouldn't say every time, but well, yeah, I have not yet seen where somebody has told me that this didn't happen, and when I went and looked, and it did. The officers here and the dispatchers here, they do a good job. Again, they're not perfect, and there might be even some disagreement on some of the stuff they may say or do. However, I rely on you people out there to let me know what's going on. So if you see something that's not being handled or dealt with, please give me a call.
Yeah, and then just to kind of piggyback on that comment by Ms. Tamis, I believe it was yesterday. There was an incident about a couple of dogs that killed or took a cat, and later, obviously the cat was dead afterwards. But is there? How can people differentiate? I mean, is there anything that can be done, or are there certain policies that should be followed within the city? I mean, I know personally about a dog license and certain requirements that need to be had, but can you explain to the community what are some of those requirements?
I tell you, most of the dogs, I'd have to say, good 90% of the dogs that are out running around, somebody owns them. They're not stray dogs. Somebody owns them. We've actually proved that. Like the little ones that are out running around over by the taco truck, they're always out there looking for scraps. She's followed a couple of times, and they led back to homes, and the dogs they'll go back home. The people let them out. They'll go do their thing, whatever they're doing, and then they'll come running back. These are the things that people need to stop doing. They have backyards for this. Keep your dog in the backyard. Don't let your dog out, because number one, there are leash laws. You have to have a license. They have to be licensed here in the city. So and the thing is if we find out, and the sad thing is most of the dogs we pick up, we know for a fact that somebody owns them, and nobody picks them up. We know they are, because they're perfectly in good health. They're well-mannered dogs, and nobody picks them up because they don't want to take that responsibility. And when you're a pet owner and you go out and you get an animal, a dog, cat, whatever it may be, that's your responsibility to take care of that pet, no matter what it is.
Yeah. So what happens? Can you run through the process? So let's say that the animal control officer goes out and catches one of those dogs and brings it back to the station, and then she tries to find who it belongs to, but nobody claims the dog. What happens afterwards?
She tries to do a zero euthanization. She does not want to have any of the dogs that she takes in euthanized. So for the most part, and I have to say 99% of the pets that she picks up, after she brings them in, she has to photograph them. She has to do a report. She has to enter them in two of our systems. One, which actually goes, I believe it's called Pet Harbor.
Hmm.
And what that is she puts it out there. So if anybody, their dog, I mean, even though most of them aren't picked up, we still want to try to get that pet back to their owner. So that's why she goes to that extent to put them back. If for some reason she cannot find the owner, if she has to take them to the pound, what she'll end up doing is she'll try to find a home for them. And in most cases, she does. She'll find a
Okay.
home. Yeah. And she's
Yep.
actually gone as far as on her own time where she's taken dogs to other places to put them in a home.
Okay. So actually, earlier today, I seen something about, and I forgot to bring it up, uh, a $15 chip microchip coupon from LPD, with with a sweater or something like that for the pet, or other options. So in reality, it's very low cost, 10
Yeah.
$15. And so when the animal control officer picks it up, and then let's say that that dog does have a microchip, and they know who it belongs to, I mean, can they just take it back, or get a hold of them and without charging them any fees for it? Or I mean, how does that work?
It depends on the issue. She has done both. She has where she's just returned the dog because it's at her discretion whether or not she wants to cite
Mhm.
someone or not. If it's obviously a pet owner who you could kind of tell somewhat that, or it's a reoccurring thing, then most likely they're going to end up getting a ticket for it. But if it's something who legitimately you believe that, hey, my dog got out, or however, with the circumstances why the dog was out running around, and most people don't let their dogs out if they're chipped because they know it's going to lead right back to them. It probably was something that happened. And so for the most part, we'll give them a warning. But the second go around, hey, they're going to have to, she'll ask why. She'll even go over there and inspect why. I mean, if it's broken down fence, things that you're going to have to fix your fence because you have to keep your dog, inside your property. You can't let
Yes.
them out. And then the second go around, because she'll keep a running log of it, um, most likely they may be cited the next time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then also, it is my understanding that if there's an animal that is taken to the shelter in our water for the county, there is a particular fee that the county will charge the city
Yes.
per pet.
Yes. That's why she tries to find them homes prior to take them out there, or tries to get them to go wherever. I mean, we actually literally, to save the city money, because it's about $100 almost, uh, where we've we've taken dogs home, our officer, and just cared for them, or she has, for the weekend until she believes that she might be able to find the owner, and we
Mhm.
don't get charged. So, we do everything we can to, not only get the pet back uh, to the person, but also to try to save the city some money.
Yes. So in the past, and I really don't know how long was that. We used to, or the city used to have like our own little shelter for the pets.
Yeah.
How long ago
Well,
was that?
we that was that was that was when I started. Public Works actually ran it,
Okay.
uh, but I won't I won't get into why they cut it. They shut it down, but it probably was the most humane place to take the animals. So that's why they turned it over, and that's when Bill Eldridge, who was a chief then, started up the animal control,
Mm.
uh, and basically came up with the whole plan as to how we were going to deal with loose animals and things like that here in the city. So we took that to us, and we took that over. That was probably, oh God, I would say like in the 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Where we did that, yes.
A long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was getting close to 2000, but yeah.
Okay. A couple more comments and questions. How many hours is the mental health training? I'm assuming for police officers, which also is connected to this question. Are there plans to coordinate with mental health professionals to answer calls for those people that have mental health issues, partnering with a professional who has the skills and knowledge to diffuse the situations or guide the officers on handling the situation?
Well, the officers know, and we have talked with mental health, that we have gotten where we've gone to situations and we've tried to get them to actually talk to people with these issues. So we've gone that far. Most of our trainings are like 4-hour blocks. Online, they're usually, again, about 2 to 4 hour blocks. Regarding mental health, what to recognize regarding mental health issues, things of that nature. And there was another one we actually did on, I can't remember what it was. It had to do with Alzheimer's patients I think it was Alzheimer's patients,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. And that was, I think, about a 2-hour block. So they're constantly given things to keep that somewhat in their mind. Is it a lot? No, it's not a lot. Can we do more? Yes, we are going to do more. So there are things there are things that we try to do consistently when it comes to dealing with mental health issues. Yes.
Okay. There's a question in Spanish. ¿Cuántos policías tienen aquí trabajando en Livingston? And I know you speak great Spanish, so that was for you.
How many people? How many cops?
Yeah. How many officers do we have here working in Livingston?
Well, we have 16 sworn, and that's including myself. Okay. Right now, we're down one officer, so that's 15. One that we left that we have to rehire, and I got 2 right now that are actually on workman's comp. So we're down to 13. Mm-hmm. So right now it's 13. Hopefully I'll get these other ones back. We'll get these people hired, and we will be back up to, I can hire 2 part-time reserves, which will be put on the street. So hopefully we will be up to, I'm shooting for February, and before the summer months start back rolling in again, be back up to 18.
Okay.
Seriously.
Let's see. Here's another comment I get. Thank you, Chief and officers, for all your hard work. Here's another comment. I just want to say thank you for doing this, and I really appreciate it. And I have always thought highly of our police department and the way they conduct themselves. Thank you for all that you do in keeping our city safe. I think this would be cool to keep up and possibly start something like get to know your officers and have a new officer each month. Good idea.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so maybe later on we can continue this session of interviews with the police department and get to know our different officers, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. Let me see. Also, are there any volunteer opportunities for citizens to help our police force?
Yes, actually, it's on Facebook. Get a hold of Sergeant Fong. They can call at 394-7916. Ask for, again, Sergeant Fong, who has now been placed in charge of the volunteers. We are consistently bringing on new volunteers. I believe we are up to 3. We only had 1, but now we're trying to bring on more. So if you have an interest in it, give him a call. He'll provide direction on what you need to do. It's kind of a short process, but it is where you have to go through a background process, but it's not as lengthy as a police officer. So, but yeah, get a hold of him, and he'll tell you what needs to be done.
And I'm curious because also I know very little about the volunteer program, and I know that you just started to kind of work on this. What are some of the more or less some of the quote unquote requirements or some of the things that they will be asked to do?
For the most part, we'll train them up in like kind of like somewhat with our explorers, traffic. What we want to end up doing is we want to now start venturing into the area of where they can write parking tickets. Um, they do things like go out and they see municipal code violations, not only for us, but maybe for building, for public works. So they kind of help out, and they're going to be the eyes and ears out there of what's going on within the city, where maybe an officer might overlook because of the fact that they may be going to a call or something like that. And if they can take care of those things, yeah, they can. They'll drive around in our little CSO truck, volunteer truck, but for the most part, they go and help officers like with paperwork, if that needs to be done. Once they get trained up on stuff like that.
Mm.
But most of that, we put them through a 2-week training to kind of
Okay.
get basic skills to how to, because we just don't want to throw anybody out there directing traffic and they don't know what they're doing and they can get hurt.
Yeah.
So obviously we want to train them up somewhat and show them what needs to be done, and also with the paperwork as well.
Okay.
But also help us out with events as
Okay.
well.
Here's a question off topic. There's an abandoned expedition on Outreach with a flat tire that has been there for 2 weeks. Would we call PD about that?
Uh, so you don't have to call. I'll take care of it.
All right.
I just gotta. Where was that? On Aldridge, right?
Outreach.
Expedition on Aldridge. Okay. We will take.
Yeah, thank you. And there's another question. Well, there are a couple of things that I want to touch on before we end the session. Truck routes in Livingston, Main Street on Hammett, big trucks on residential area parked. The 911 text option for Livingston, and the neighborhood watch program.
Okay. Trucks cannot be parked or drive through the city, period. Tractor trailers or the trucks, they cannot. A lot of people, and I'm starting to see a lot now parking in their driveway. I know a lot of people say that this is my private property and I can do what I want. The ordinance, you cannot park your tractor in your driveway, period. You can't do it. You can be cited. We are going to start enforcing that because I'm starting to see more and more of that. We're going to start stopping cars or trucks as well. And we're going to be able to show that the only time you can come into town is if you're actually delivering. That's the only time. And really the only two places downtown that receive deliveries is the market on Main Street and Liberty Market. Pretty much they're the only two that probably will be receiving a truck that comes down that way. So everything else is for that. We're gonna start doing a kind of like a educational enforcement because we kind of got away from that. But it's I know the public works director has told me that they've caused some damage at the roundabout. So we're going to start kind of vamping that up as well and just start stopping trucks, telling them you guys cannot be here. I know because I've actually stopped one and the GPS took me down there. I have to tell you, but we're actually going to put signs, no through trucks. So I've gotten with Anthony, Chavarria, who's the public works director, and I'll let him know again. I know there's one on the one end, but I needed one on the other one as well, saying no through trucks, period, unless you're delivering. So that's how we're going to start addressing that with an educational enforcement, and then we're going to start issuing citations to the people not only driving the trucks in town but parking them as well. The second one was, what was the second one?
So trucks in residential areas, the truck routes, the 911 text option.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know they just I don't really know much about it because the administrative services manager, Deanna, she actually runs all that. But pretty much it is what it says. You text, you can text 911. It comes right into our console right at dispatch. It's the same thing as actually calling in on 911. However, now it's text to 911. So it's just a different way of communication, because I know now today some people can probably text faster than they can talk. Some of these kids, I'm telling you, and they can do it probably with one hand. So
Yes.
they made that available,
Mhm.
and we are starting to see a little bit more of that. But mostly, what we still see is the call-ins on the 911.
Okay. And the other thing that and actually, which is good, I noticed there's more interest in the neighborhood watch program.
Yeah.
How what I mean, what can people do to be able to, I mean, I guess participate or that are interested?
In a nutshell, what they need to do is they need to get a hold of me.
Mhm.
What I will end up doing, because neighborhood watch is a commitment. It really is. I've seen so many over the years start and then fade. They have to be consistent, because I know a lot of people, well, can't we just get neighborhood watch signs up there? They may work for a time being, but after that, they're not going to work. You'll see some places around the city, um, neighborhood watch signs, and they're kind of old and faded. Well, we need people who are going to be consistently involved. Okay, and part of being a neighborhood watch, when it comes to consistently being involved, that's your neighborhood being consistently involved. That's your neighborhood communicating with one another, having regular meetings about what is going on within that portion of the neighborhood watch program. And then what we do is we go in and basically they'll put somebody in charge and they will run it. We will come in and guide them and help them. However, again, it goes back to, we live at the end, or we leave at the end of the day. They live there. They know what's going on. So there's going to be a liaison from our department to their general area that will work with them. And whatever the issue may be, then, okay, there's abandoned cars all over the place or wrecked cars. They go to our AVA program, who actually runs that. Okay, this is what we need done. They go in and take care of it. There's a gang problem. They go to the gang sergeant. He starts coming up with the plan, dealing with the problem. There's a house over here that we think that might be selling drugs. We go to the detectives. Then they start dealing with the problem. But it comes down to consistent communication, and it
Mhm.
has to be all the time. Normally, what it comes down to is probably a monthly meeting, and usually what it ends up doing is most people did in the past is they met in somebody's garage. They just kind of got together. Some people kept notes on what was going on, and then what they did is they shared the information, and then when they talked, hey, this is what's going on. Oh, yeah, I'm starting to see that. And then what they do is they'll pass that information on. Whoever the spokesperson is will pass that information
Mhm.
on. As for the signs and things like that, what we end up doing is we want to see that commitment before we end up spending the money to actually go in and start putting up signs everywhere, because we want that commitment. Okay, before, we're not just going to arbitrarily say boom and do it. That's what I've done twice in the past where I've done it with certain neighborhoods, and they did it for a while. I don't think they do it anymore. I have not heard or seen anything from them, but it's been a while. But that's the thing. It's
Okay.
just
Yes.
and consistent communication, and that's what
Yes.
neighborhood watch is about.
Okay. Uh, we can probably follow up on that with that, and if there's additional interest from different areas of town, we can probably get those groups together. Here's a comment. We have seen more community involvement since Chris Soria became chief. Thank you, chief.
Thank you, Mr. Santana.
Um, here's another one. Will you be doing the toy drive this year?
Yes, we're getting vamped up right now. Actually, people can come into the lobby. I believe it's between 5 and 8. We have explorers taking names right now. Um, I don't actually have the when they're going to end that, but we are in the process of getting that all worked out. Where we're going to be doing, I think next week, buying the toys, getting the bikes. We're getting donations. We're getting that all vamped up. And I do believe they have the date when we're actually going to do it. Look at our Facebook. We will be probably posting it there. Matter of fact, I'll have them do it tomorrow. The dates and times and where. It's going to be here at the police department. I know that. We're going to do, because of COVID, we're going to do a drive-by type thing to shut the street down, and everybody's going to drive up. Santa will be out there, give them the toys, and then they drive off, because we can't have a lot of people in one area.
Yes, thank you. What is being done with all the homeless people in town?
Believe it or not, a lot of the people that you see, and I made a mistake the other day when I talked about the shooting that we had. That gentleman wasn't homeless. I thought he was. He wasn't. He actually lives here in town. And a lot of the people that you think might be homeless aren't. They actually have home. They actually have homes. They just. I mean, there's one individual. I don't really want to get into, say anything about her or anything like that. But you may see her. She sometimes wears a like a costume. She has a home. She does. I mean, and you wouldn't think so, but she does. But anything we can now, we know that county has facilities. If we can get them that help, we will get it for them. However, a lot of the homeless people, believe it or not, they don't want it. They like living the lifestyle that they live. Obviously, that if they break the law, we got to deal with it in that sense. But a lot of them just like living out there. I don't know why. I think it might be just the freedom to do whatever they want to do. And again, you might be talking about some of the people, not all of them, might not have the mental capacity to actually probably live in an environment that like a home style life, and they want to be out there on their own, away from everybody. But they're not causing any issues other than there'll probably be some like trash issues, and from time to time we have thefts. Sometimes we have some vandalism, but believe it or not, that is not a lot from the homeless population here in town.
Yeah. Okay. I have here another question. I don't know how you're going to deal with this one. ¿Cuánto gana un policía aquí en Livingston? How much does a police officer earn here in Livingston? Or probably compared to other areas?
I want to say I think they're like 50 a year, something like that. It's actually, you can actually go to Transparent California, and you can pull up any one of the officers. You can pull up Livingston Police Department, and it'll give you a list of everything we make. Everything. Every government official, teachers, everything. If you go to Transparent California, it'll show you what those individuals make. Their salaries, their benefits, and how much overtime they've made, and they have to report to the state every year. But it's in there. It's called Transparent California, and it'll tell you.
Actually, I just found it right now. That was pretty quick.
Yes.
Okay, and let's see. Okay, here's some information from Kristen Hill from Miss Hill. Cops for Kids signups are Monday through Friday from 4 to 7.
I was off by an hour.
4 to 8. Okay. Well, yeah. Is there anything else that we missed? Is there anything else that you might want to add that we haven't talked about?
One thing I want to just remind people. I talked about it briefly at the council yesterday. The Citizen Academy that we have coming up. Just one of the things a reminder that we're only going to have 8 people. This is the first time we've done it. It's going to be January 21st and 22nd. It's going to be available for the first 8 people. And then depending on what kind of participation we have the first time, we will do another. But basically it's gonna, most of them, I think most Citizen Academies are like 2-3 days. We're going to do it in a day. However, we're going to try to give them as much information on the things that we do. There are going to be interactive things that we're going to have them do as well. They're going to do ride-alongs so they can. So we want them to see the things that we do, the things that we deal with, and how we deal with them. And that's what we want to do. Is we want to be as transparent as possible to show the citizens that we basically, why is it an officer? Why did they do this? This is why. So, and that starts, and we're taking signups now. They can get a hold of Sergeant Ray Fong. And like I said, I believe we have 2 people already. So if you're interested, give them a call and we will go from there.
Well, Chief, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and I think this is this was a great conversation, and more than anything, to really inform the people and answer a lot of the questions that people had for a while, and just to really be able to see what they need to do when they need to reach out. And I have one last question that just showed up. ¿Por qué la página de LPD Crime Graphics no está updated? Why is the LPD Crime Graphics website is not updated? I don't know what that is.
Crime Graphics. There's actually I wonder if she's talking about our rims. There's an actual, God, and I wish I had it, but it should be on our web page. If you go to the city web page in the police department, there's an actual thing called RIMS. And what it does is people can get alerts to what's going on here in the city through our CAD RMS system, which is our computer aided dispatch. And what it does, it doesn't give them everything. However, it does give them in a general sense what is going on in the city. And they can actually sign up for that on there. And I do believe it is on there. If it's not, what I can end up doing is I can end up giving it to you. And if you can get it out somehow, okay. But I do believe also that it is on our Facebook page. But what it is it's and that should be updated all the time. So I would have to I know what she was talking about. But I know Miss Partita, but if she would like, she can give me a call. So I can understand a little bit more about what she might be talking about. But that's the only thing that I can think of. But that's updated.
Yeah. Okay. And actually, that is something. One more thing that I learned today. I was not aware of that. So yes. I would definitely kind of look into it and get more information and be more educated about that. Chief, I
believe it's called RIMS map. But anyway, go ahead.
RIMS map.
Yeah.
Okay. And well, thank you so much for taking the time and to answer all those questions. And thank you to everyone that actually took the time to be here and to ask those questions as well. I do believe that one of the best ways to really communicate and know what is going on is by actually communicating, asking those questions and getting those answers. Yes. If we don't ask those questions, we're still not going to know what is going on. So yeah. Definitely asking those questions is probably the first big step that we need to do.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Moran, for having me today. And I want to thank everybody again. Communication is the key. It's the key to everything. The more communication we have, the better off we all are. And I want to thank everybody because I'm usually not used to this much involvement. I'm not trying to say anything bad. It's just, but when I put things on, I really don't get a whole heck of a lot of involvement. And I'm glad that people got on and asked questions because that's the only way you're going to learn. It's better to ask questions than let it fester and not know the answer. So please, I invite anyone and everyone that has an issue here at the police department, please give me a call. My number's out there. My direct line's 394-5580. Again, it's 394-5580. That's to my direct line. Leave me, if I'm not here, leave me a message. I get it on my phone. I will get back with you. But whatever it may be, that's the way I learn. That's the way my officers, the men and women of this police department, that's how we get better by listening to the things that you have that might be going on out there. So I want to, again, thank you very much for having me today. And again, if you want to do this again, I'm more than happy, and we can have somebody else be here, right. Or 2 or 3 people maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much once again, and I'm really looking forward to continuing with this conversation in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Bye bye. You too.
All
Bye.
right.